meeting for the Conservation Commission for July 2nd. First item is to do an agenda. So when I call your name, you can answer. Ken?
Here.
Eleanor?
Here.
Haley?
She's connecting.
What's that?
She's connecting. I just saw her. There she is.
Okay. Haley, you're here? We're just missing, I'm here, and we're missing Paul. Okay, I guess we can get started. The first item is to approve the minutes for June 18th. Is there anyone that has anything to say about that? Any corrections? If not, could someone make a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make the
Motion
motion.
to approve the minutes. Second.
All in favor?
Hi,
That was,
Eleanor.
yeah, that was Eleanor, okay. Ken?
Yes.
I'm here. Who else do we have in
You got
here?
Paul.
Paul's here, okay. Just say,
And Haley.
and Haley. Is that everyone? Okay. First item on the agenda is DEP file 631. Now that has been extended again to August 20th. Is there anyone here for that? No, I don't see anyone. The 7 o'clock item is DEP file 643, New England Power Company. Okay, does the applicant here for that? I think so. I see them here.
Yes, I'm here, Andrew Cole.
All right, so can someone recap where we were and try to resolve this? Do you guys have anything you want to add? Andrew?
Yeah, I might turn over to Shona. She has the date at which she provided the responses from our last hearing, and then the draft order of conditions that we just gave requested edits over to you guys.
Yeah, okay. That's fine.
So I think there's been a little bit of email traffic in the last few days. Elaine had sent a number of different emails. I think there was first off a request for some recording information that's been sent over. We did receive the draft order of conditions. Andrew and I both had a couple of different comments and questions which were sent back this morning. And then there was one other email that Elaine had sent about some comments that I think Eleanor had.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's clear that up then. So
Sure.
give us something to start with. And do you want to pull out the 2 orders? Does anyone have both of them that they could, or can you put one on? Well, what do you want to do? Correct yours first? We'll look at yours first. You got a couple of the items or a lot? Because we need to go through a lot of the ones on ours.
I could pull up the last version with the comments on it. I assume that's the most recent one.
Jimmy, just point of order. How, like, if we have follow-up questions based on the information that Shauna sent at the last meeting, but we didn't have a chance to review, do you want to tackle those before we get into this or afterwards? I'll leave it up to you. And I didn't get a chance to review whatever was sent this afternoon because I was at work.
Mm-hmm. So what is it? What exactly do you want us to do?
We can go through the comments now. we can go through all the edits and comments now, hopefully to button them up.
Yeah, that's the comments from the applicant, correct?
I believe so, yeah, that's the version.
Okay.
Is this the right version I should be looking at? It has the comments on it.
There's comments in the right
Bottom of
part,
page 2 is
correct,
when
Ken?
ours, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, that looks like it. Yep.
Elaine, did you happen to look at these yet?
I got them this afternoon and I forwarded them, and no, I haven't. This is the first I've seen them.
So I think our comment on this one was just that, part of the proposed project does call for some mowing of vegetation along where the access will be, where the work areas are. So just to make it clear that while the project does not include tree removals, any sort of herbicide spraying or any of those other activities that are kind of under that yearly operating plan under the cyclical maintenance, we do have a little bit of vegetation management. So we can kind of talk through that in the a pre-construction meeting, if that makes sense to the commission.
Okay, when you say a little vegetation, are you talking trees? Are you talking
No.
shrubs?
No, it's where we have the access shown throughout the mapping. It's just mowing along those access roads and at the work areas. So it's just mowing. In the case of a wetland, it's not even mowing. It's usually just putting down construction mats right on top of the vegetation. But they
Okay.
do need to be able to get the trucks in, so they have to kind of mow a clear path around the work areas. It's not removal. It's not kind of cutting out the vegetation so much as just trimming it down for construction phase.
Okay. Let's see then. Does anyone have any suggestions on how to word this?
Can we make sure it's, I guess, within a limit of work or outside our 25-foot buffer, that type of thing?
It looks like 31 just talks about not doing anything prior to the pre-construction meeting. So what's the concern with that as written?
I think it was more that it should be coordinated with the yearly operating plan. The condition that kind of that in red, that the condition should be coordinated with the yearly operating plan because they are different activities.
But as part of this project, there should be no clearing
Right. No
prior
clearing.
to the, yeah, so as proposed in this project, that condition's talking about this project.
So prior to the okay, I got it.
So I don't know if we want to be referring to another plan that's not part of this project in these conditions. You tell me, Elaine.
I think it's very difficult to reference an external document within this document. I think she's right. Yearly operational plan is the yearly operational plan, and this is the order of conditions.
Yeah.
So no, I don't really think we can do that. So I think, having said that there's no disturbance prior to the pre-construction meeting works, and then except such disturbance as required to stake the limit of work line and control barrier, yes, that works. And then, okay, these conditions plus 32 and 33 should coordinate with your yearly operational plan. Before we get to that, there was language over on the comments that I thought was good. I think the part where it says the project will require vegetation to be mown along access routes and the work path location. I think that should go in, just so we kind of know where we are. Yeah.
Okay, I have a question I know, because for them to be exempt, if they have to be within 100 feet. You know, they can't be outside. Well, they can be outside because they're out of our jurisdiction at that point, but they can the Wetlands Protection Act allows them to go up to the edge of the resource area. We just can't be in it, but they're maintaining, I think, 10 feet, right? So I don't know how this one works. I don't know how this, I guess what I'm saying is I don't know how 31 works with,
So,
Uh-huh.
so my thought was it would work if nothing happens until there's a pre-construction meeting. The next sentence explains what's going to happen. Vegetation mowed along the access routes and at the work pad locations. I think that should be in there as explanatory things.
where are you now?
I'm
Oh,
on
down
In
third-
the comment from NEP, Jimmy.
yeah, yes, and the comments on 31 from NP.
Oh, okay.
And then I think that if we're talking about a setback of 10 feet, then I think it should be marked in the pre-construction. It's the most practical way to do it. Everybody knows what's going to happen, and everybody knows where it's going. That sorted out, built pre-construction. That would be my recommendation.
You're breaking up. I can't really understand you.
I think-
Okay, so the last part of that was three parts. Nothing happens until the pre-construction meeting. And then an explanation of mowing along the access routes and work pad locations that explains what's going to happen. And then the third part is areas to be marked out where no work shall occur should be marked out at the pre-construction meeting. That way, it's not in theory. You're standing in the field, you've got something in your hands to mark out the no touch areas. And I think the pre-construction meeting is the place for that.
Is that an acceptable condition or a amendment to that condition?
So
You folks?
I think there are a number of other conditions that require marking out of resource areas, kind of marking out the limits of work within or adjacent to resource areas with erosion controls. I think the condition is as written is not, not a, it didn't raise any flags. I think for either Andrew or I, it was more that coordinating the condition with the yearly operating plan would have raised some flags because they are separate projects. So I believe what Elaine was mentioning about, having the pre-construction meeting and mowing and putting up kind of erosion controls and boundaries and the limit of work are captured in other conditions. I can point those out.
Well, and the next condition 32, basically calls out what Elaine was calling for, I think.
Yes.
Limit of work has to be clearly marked with stakes, flags, or fencing, and it has to be approved at the pre-construction meeting in writing. Elaine, does that get you where you need to be?
Yes, yes, it does. So if we take 32 and leave 32 as it is, I would still say we can take out no clearing of, well, okay. So 32 talks about erosion control. 31 talks about no clearing of vegetation prior to the pre-construction meeting. So if we just said, if we left that first sentence in there, no clearing of vegetation or disturbance of soil within 100 feet of the resource area, and take out the riverfront area, shall occur prior to the pre-construction meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Is that acceptable to everybody? In other words, nothing happens except the erosion control gets installed, and then we have the pre-construction meeting. Is that acceptable to everyone?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So then, somewhere in there, I would say the project will require vegetation to be mowed along access routes and at work pad locations. I think that sentence should be in there somewhere within just maybe the beginning of 31, just as an explanation of what's going to happen. And then NEP can schedule a pre-construction meeting prior to mowing the right-of-way for the project. I think that should stay in. And,
Should be written as NEP shall schedule.
okay, yep, shall's better word. And then the only thing that gets taken out is this condition plus 32 and 33 should coordinate with the yearly operational plan. That goes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right.
One other thing is, what is the width of the right of way? The right of way is different than, well, maybe that's what, is the right of way different than the whole width of the, it's different than, it's not a right of, how wide
Well,
is the?
Jimmy, are you trying to distinguish between limit of work and right of way?
Yes,
I guess, Shauna, what is the difference? Is there?
There is a difference, yes. So the right of way is the entire corridor. In this
Right.
case, there are the 3 separate utility lines in it. I believe in this area, it's about 150, between 150 and 200 feet wide.
Okay,
Approximately is the whole corridor. So the
Yeah.
limit of work would be where there's access kind of across along the historic access routes and the work pad locations. So kind of the work pad locations is where, most of the structure work will take place. Be
Mhm.
staging kind of all that equipment as they're changing out the, the overhead components, and then the actual access roads themselves. Well, they'll
Okay,
be improving
okay.
on the access roads.
So when you say, a pre-construction meeting prior to mowing the right of way, that's, you're saying you're gonna mow the whole 150 feet?
No, they'll mow along the access roads and in the work pads, and that's it. So they mow in the work pads to cut
that's
down
how
the
the-
vegetation so they can actually stage equipment, but they don't mow, they're not gonna mow the whole right of way. Not
we
for
need
this
to-
project, that's just for the access area.
So I think we should take right of way out of it and just do what you just said.
Mhm.
Mowing your,
where do we,
I don't think you need right of way in there. It's giving you
Ah.
the ability to
Mhm.
go 150 feet if you wanted to.
So it should say NEP can schedule a pre-construction meeting prior to
Okay.
mowing for the project.
Okay,
yeah,
Okay. So I'm sorry, where does it say right of way?
the last line, the second to last line there,
In
Of-
30.
Of
in
the
30
comment.
31, the comment on 31.
Except such an work service required to stake the. I see it. So take out, it should say to stake the erosion control barriers and take out limit of work.
No, in the comment that Shauna put into 31,
Yeah,
it says the project will require vegetation to be mown along access routes and at work pad locations. NEP shall schedule a pre-construction meeting prior to mowing for the project. Take out the words the ROW at that
got it.
point.
Got it. Okay. Got it. Okay. I got 31.
Weren't any comments on 2 or 3?
None shown.
So Shauna, you're asking about whether 34 is necessary?
Yes, so they're 34 and 35 both reference tree removals. But when we are not proposing any tree removals as part of the project. So there's a condition to approve completion of protective measures for trees that are going to be saved. But if we aren't removing trees from the project, just wanted to comment that is that a condition that we need to adhere to if there's no proposed tree removals?
Well, is there a chance that the equipment might damage the trees?
The work pads are within the kind of the center of the right of way.
Well, the only place I can think of would be your access points, but you're saying that those aren't gonna have trees there anyways, right?
Right.
where
So,
you can-
so in the access points, if machinery needs to come through, on occasion, they need to cut some limbs that are overhanging access, but there's no tree removals proposed as part of that.
Okay. But so if there's gonna be equipment going back and forth, is there a need to protect the tree?
What's the harm in having the two conditions in there? If no trees are damaged, then there's nothing that you folks have to do. But if trees
Okay.
are inadvertently damaged, then they're protected, or where
Okay.
project is protected. That's how I look at it.
Okay, so it was that the commission shall approve completion of this protective measure in writing. So if we do not have protective measures because we aren't removing any trees, does that mean we don't need to have approval of protective measures in writing?
I would have thought that you need the protective maybe you can tell me anyways. Wherever you're gonna need access, you need a clearing. And is there a clearing there now, or are you gonna be taking down trees to make a clearing? Or is there gonna be traffic going through existing trees that could get damaged in the process? I mean, you had said that you're gonna be bringing big equipment in and.
No, there's existing access there, both at Hemlock and at the Main Street.
Okay.
So there's no tree removals. So I think
Okay.
to Shona's points is it says, presenting in a protective measure. We don't have any tree clearing. I think we're all set. Is there any
Okay.
way, either Elaine or we can do some research? I wasn't sure where the tree removal policy resides. I'm just not familiar with what that detail.
Well, we can
Yes.
we can send it to you, but if it
Perfect.
doesn't apply, is there a way we could change 34 and just say, if not, if it doesn't
Yeah.
apply, then,
Or just say as applicable.
as
I don't-
applicable. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that solves it.
We can send that tree policy for some light reading later if you want.
Yeah. Put me to bed.
Well, it's not big, so it's a
All right, so
relatively easy read.
the end of it. The yellow is our notes, or and the pink is yours? Is that the way we're doing this?
The yellow were notes that Elaine
Yeah,
indicated.
that's what I'm saying.
Those don't apply.
Oh, wait a minute, did you read them?
Yeah. You're not going to manually or mechanically sweep sediments from streets, are they?
No, but they're pouring concrete pads out there.
Yeah, I suppose.
And where they're doing the pads are the wettest areas.
True
I
enough.
have no problem with that being,
Yeah.
included. I mean, that's a BMP that if there's sediment on a hard top road, we would sweep it. So if you want
And
to
just,
retain
and
it,
just to clarify too, for a work pad, it's not a permanent feature. It's not a poured concrete feature. In that case, it just denotes kind of a 100 by 100 foot area around a structure where vehicles will set up. In some cases, they will put kind of stone down if the surface is a little if the surface isn't stable, but it's not a constructed concrete pad. I thought I got that.
But the
But you
caisson
do
will be
have-
poured.
You
though.
do have a couple that are gonna be poured like caissons, right?
Yes, so yeah, so the actual
and so
structure
the
themselves
concrete- And so the concrete's gonna get there how? With a pump truck?
with a concrete truck, yes.
Okay, so when they pump it, they can't get all the concrete out of the pump truck.
Mhm.
So they have to discharge. So
Right.
where are you gonna
You
discharge?
don't want that to happen in wetlands.
No,
So we should leave it in other words.
Leave that 39 in then, yes.
Did you catch that, Elaine?
39 is keep.
Yes.
And a lot of talk about 38. Is that keep or go?
I think Andrew indicated that they will in fact be sweeping, right?
Okay,
Yes,
so
yeah, if you want to
38
keep that.
So that
Okay.
could,
So
that
thank you.
could, both could stay. should
Okay,
stay.
Yeah, so wait a minute, what'd you decide? I think I missed what you said. Are you gonna leave them both in, aren't you?
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Because they will, yeah, I mean, if they're gonna do it anyways,
yep.
it's fine. Any area for cleanup. Okay,
Seems to me, Elaine, that for that one, it should be designated prior to construction and be sited outside of jurisdictional areas.
okay, so that's keep,
Keep the first clause that you deleted
and
and be
locate
cited
at, yep,
as you put it in. Yeah. Anybody disagree with that?
well, just read it now, what you're in a
Any
complete,
area for cleanup /maintenance of equipment shall be designated prior to construction and shall be sited outside of jurisdictional areas.
okay, very good.
can I change that to outside the 100-foot buffer zone? I think it'll be easier for people to understand who are reading it.
Yeah,
Makes sense to me.
Okay. All right, I just think that'll be an easier read. Okay, I got it.
Okay. Shauna, I guess you'll need to explain to us your comments on the next, which would
Sure.
be B and C.
Mhm.
Or
So-
B, yes.
A calls for essentially a letter from a professional engineer that the work has been completed in compliance with permit conditions. B asks for as-built plans, and then C is modified. I think at first this one had been crossed out, but we had proposed to kind of bring it back with some modifications. The request here is to remove the provision for as-built site plans. With the notice of intent application, we didn't provide engineering plans that are PE stamped, that are designed. National Grid typically works on spec, so they have specification sheets for structure design. They have specification, kind of typical drawings for different components of the work. And because there is no existing kind of proposed conditions engineered plan, there's not really, an as-built wouldn't really compare to that plan. So our request is, instead of having an as-built, to take that one out and have a letter from a professional engineer certifying that the work was completed in compliance with permits. And then we would provide kind of the post-construction photos documenting restoration, documenting where the access has been installed, has been improved, and then any work kind of nearby resource areas showing that restoration of the resource area. So you kind of get to the intent of this project has complied with permits, but without the as-built requirement.
yeah. Yeah, I agree that you don't need the as-built requirement. This isn't like, where you can't move the poles out of the right of way anyway, so I mean, what's the sense? But the question I have though is, was your plans that you developed, were they done by a ground survey? Well, how did you come up with your locations and stuff for wetlands and things like that?
So the plans are GIS based. We, for the kind of the existing environmental resource areas, we pull from some of the publicly available state data, as well as, so that would include layers like the natural heritage, endangered species, polygons. And then we also add all of our wetland information. So when we delineate the wetlands, we take a GPS point at each of the flags and transmit that information onto the plan.
Okay. Yeah.
The locations of the structures, the existing structures, that's provided by NEP. So that is, it's kind of point data. Each of them has a location. So we just we map where the point data of that is. And then the work areas, the access roads, those are pulled from a combination of sources, both from kind of reconnaissance surveys of the right of way, a little bit from the aerial photos that show where some of the historic access is. There are some kind of older plans that show access that we can pull the information from older plans. So it's a variety of different sources that go into those environmental resource maps.
That's all right. I was just curious. I
Mhm.
mean, the permit's only good for 3 years anyway, so you'd have to come back,
Yep.
check it again. So I'm not worried about it. I just was curious how you put your data together. Okay.
Isn't
We're
it-
all set. So what
I'm
do we,
sorry.
so did we modify this yet? What do you want to put down?
I think what I'm hearing is they'd like us to remove B,
Correct. Yes.
Take the whole thing out.
take B out since they aren't going to be building to plans.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to have, my opinion is it doesn't make any sense to put that in there for this.
And the, is the red text your suggestion, Shauna?
Yes. So I think there's kind of almost like maybe a darker red and a lighter red. Those are suggestions from both Andrew and I
All right.
on what the kind of the post-construction photographs would document.
Construction photograph of buffer areas.
Of access, work areas, and structure work within buffer areas within the first.
It's on the version that they sent you. It's
so-
highlighted in yellow.
Okay, so just take it as it is written in C. And take that as the new C.
Actually, I
Right.
think you can make it into the new B.
Make it into the new B. You're right, make it into the new B. Okay, I got it. Okay,
Well, I don't think that one applies, does it? 47?
I guess I'd want to understand, what do your permits or exemptions allow you to do?
So these were perpetual conditions, and I think we wanted to allow the flexibility in the case that there, we do need to come before you again in the future, and part of that suggestion is it allows flexibility. So for vegetation work, there's sometimes benefits to leaving brush at the base of a tree. There's when you're mowing through work areas, rather than some of the brush and mown vegetation to keep that on the right of way rather than trying to remove it. There may be
Yeah.
some conditions where it makes sense to leave grass or brush clippings. So it's just to allow some flexibility. This wouldn't allow kind of an in perpetuity. We
Yeah.
can leave, what is it, landscape debris. It's just allowing the flexibility at a later date to have a permit or exemption to be able to.
That
Well.
condition was really written for the homeowners, the addition that a homeowner might put on to get them to stop throwing their brush in the adjacent wetlands.
Yeah.
I mean, I almost think you could take the first line right out of it.
Jimmy, I'd suggest we leave it with the addition that they proposed.
Okay,
Doesn't hurt to have it there like that.
all right. So what do you want to put for a distance? Within how many feet of the wetland resource areas?
But we normally talk about a no disturbance area of 25 feet, right?
Yeah. I mean, actually, they're exempt from in that first 25 feet, but, they don't have an objection, we can put 25 down. Do you have any suggestions? Are you opposed to having a 25-foot no disturb area? How are you gonna do that anyways? Because, oh yeah, I guess you could. All right, let's,
Can I just reread this to make sure?
yeah,
No storing or dumping of any landscape debris, including leaves, grass clippings, brush, or other debris, shall be allowed within 25 feet of the wetland resource area, except as allowable by permit or exemption, period. And
And then the perpetuity clause remains.
the perpetuity clause remains. And then the part where this should coordinate with the yearly operational plan, that's also,
The same, I think the proposal is the same suggestion, the same change. No use of pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, or insecticides within X feet of a wetland resource area except as allowable by permit or exemption.
right. And then my question is, on 47 and 48, do you want to include, this should coordinate the yearly operational plan, or leave it out?
well, wouldn't it be better to have it incorporated into the plan?
Well, except that
I mean,
I
then
had
it gets
spoken
done on a
earlier
scheduled
about
basis.
it in two separate documents, so that's what I would like to clarify.
Well, if you put it in coordination with the yearly operational plan, then it's gonna get done every year, which is better than it would have had by not putting that in. I
Okay,
think
so then
it's
it
getting more
stays,
protected.
then it stays.
Yeah, I think it could stay the way it is.
And then the same thing with 47, this should coordinate with the YOP.
Does it?
Yeah, so I think the reason we suggested allowable by permit or exemption, that's a separate operation maintenance plan, which would be a permit or exemption. So that's why I would request that this should be coordinated with the YOP be removed and it's applicable to the project. And again, that operation maintenance plan is a separate activity. Try to separate these two things.
Yeah, but
All right.
well, wait a minute.
Okay,
Your yearly operational plan is gonna ensure that you're gonna be doing it, sometimes you're gonna be doing it at the same time, right? Why wouldn't you want to coordinate it with that? Doesn't mean that, well, you want the freedom to go.
Is our order time limited, Jimmy? This order is for the period of time when they're actually going to be doing
Well,
work for
yeah,
this project, correct?
right. This is a 3-year permit.
Right.
Yeah, so no matter,
After that, it will strictly be the YOP.
yeah, and we're not, I don't know if we'd ever be out there checking it anyways, but you do reviews with the public too before every time you do one of these, right? Every time you go in there to do maintenance.
If it's maintenance exempt, it doesn't trigger, a movement
Well,
of a
yeah,
structure greater than a certain distance. We wouldn't be submitting a notice of intent for something that exceeds an exemption threshold. Then yeah, we'd be doing an application. So to answer your question, no, we wouldn't be submitting a notice of intent for every maintenance activity.
Right.
For a project that's more scope such as this, we would.
So how do we separate during construction, like the activity that's yearly operating plan versus project plan? Like, I didn't scroll to the bottom. Are we okay with not doing maintenance during the time you guys are doing the project?
Special condition 54, I believe, addresses your question. 54
Okay.
says the maintenance or yearly operational plan work will be postponed.
Okay.
This, yep,
Within the work envelopes for the project's duration.
Okay.
Unless there is a danger tree, is that what you really mean?
Yes, tree. Yep. Yeah. So if between now and the end of this project, right, a tree can be hazardous, meaning it dies or it falls or a storm event. We need to remove that tree, and there's no exception to that. We go in there and remove that because it could be a danger to the public and the lines, and so that's why I kind of need that to be retained.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's okay.
Danger tree is an odd term, so that's all.
Sorry. Yeah. Just seemed like the most obvious way to say a tree that presents danger, danger tree. It's kind of how we refer to it internally, and sort of to state a tree is a danger. I'm fine with a different way to describe it, but just my common use of terms, danger tree.
How about dangerous tree?
Yeah.
well,
The danger tree is an industry kind of standard.
yeah, I
Language.
was-
Put in parentheses. I'll just put in
Yeah.
parentheses so both sides know what it. Okay, so I'm sorry, but I'm still back on 47, 48. And I just want to know does 47 contain the final sentence? This should coordinate with yearly. And no. Yes, or
Sounds like, Elaine, the YOP is going to be in suspension in the area where they're working, was what I was reading in the 53, 54.
okay,
So I'm not sure it's needed there, although then the question is it needed for 48? So Andrew, will you guys be doing pesticide, et cetera, application?
For this project, no, we will not be for this project. And that
Okay.
later condition 54, I think the number was to say the activities in the work envelopes and the access road is what we would be coordinating with vegetation to make sure they don't come through and do, another activity in the same footprint during our construction.
Okay.
so are you telling me to delete all of 48?
No,
I would keep it.
no, I'd agree.
Okay, does it include the sentence, this should coordinate with the YOP?
Is it a problem to say it? I don't think it doesn't sound like it is.
Yeah, I mean, the YOP is going to be under permit and exemption. So
They wrote it as except as allowable by permit or exemption. This should coordinate with the YOP, which is kind of like a note.
Yeah.
So by saying allowable by permit exemption, that's what they're getting at.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
correct.
Okay, and then 47, we still need a decision on 47. Does it contain the sentence that should coordinate with the YOP?
Not
You-
if it
you
says
didn't
except
put-
as allowable by permit or exemption.
Yeah.
So take it out.
The coordinate with the YOP. I didn't see it in there, and
Okay, well, we talked about adding it and then it got confused. So just don't put it in.
don't put it into 47. Just leave it in 48.
All right, got it. So now I'm down to 49.
49 to 50, were those crossed off because you didn't think they applied, Elaine?
Yeah, yeah, I didn't anticipate that they would be using fertilizer out there or plowing snow or
Yeah.
applying salt.
Or
So,
applying de-icers.
yeah,
I would keep the de-icer thing, right? Wouldn't they? Would you guys potentially? With equipment and stuff going up there?
Yeah, there's always a potential that, you know, based on heavy snowfall or icy conditions, that a de-icer could be an option. Another option that we apply is the use of sand. So typically, if we're in like a resource area that's for drinking water, we already have an internal guideline that sodium chloride or de-icer is not to be used. And then in other areas, we basically try to stop short of wetlands or buffers, and we apply sand and do kind of application like that.
So no harm in leaving it.
all right,
I
so
don't see
51
harm.
stays. 51 stays.
Yes.
50, what about 50? Stay or go?
Do you actually do snow plowing, Andrew?
They would side cast it, so they may use like a mechanical broom to try to basically do a path and then push it to the sides of, you know, roads or mats, something like that. That's typical for heavy snowfall, but we're not bringing in and stockpiling snow, so no blowing of snow shall be stored within. Jeez. I don't see a problem with the condition so long as can we state within 100 feet. I just to say 25 feet. Snow line within. It's just usable area to if we had heavy snowfall to side cast snow.
So,
Yeah, I don't see. Yeah, I mean, we're talking a dirt road here that they're trying to get equipment up.
There won't be any detention or infiltration basins, will there?
No, I mean outside of those like water bars that we described,
Right. And no
there's
constructed
no
wetlands.
designed or engineered detention basins. No.
So, and no constructed wetlands or swales.
I mean, unless someone could interpret swales to be a water bar, but
I thought the way the road was designed was going to be flat with, I guess, swales on the side. So the snow will probably, right, be brushed off. And then, like in that example, on the steep part, off Hemlock Road, going up to the power line cut, it'll flow into the lower wetland, right? Because the two intermittent streams kind of meet along that ridge trail. So I get this as a comment to the commission, like when they clear the snow, it will go in, into an area that will make it down to the wetlands. I think as long as there's not, if they're just, as you said, side casting, that seems okay, and there's no salt and sediment added.
Correct.
Okay.
So do we want to put a footage here and just leave it as is and say 25 feet?
I don't know what your normal is. It's 100 or 25 feet.
I mean, if the commission would allow it to be 25 feet, it just allows the area to side cast, and then you don't have heavy accumulations that we have to, again, relocate snow. But if it has to be 100, for this short section of right away, I imagine we can make it work. But I guess my ask would be 25 if it's feasible.
This is untreated snow. It's not snow from the streets is one of our concerns.
Mhm.
Plowing snow off of a street somewhere. So this is going to be probably the best snow to side cast. So I'd be okay with a shorter distance. But
Yeah, that makes sense to me too, Ken.
Okay.
Okay, so number 50 is 25. And let
Yes.
me take this off, sure I've got this. No plowed snow shall be stored within 25 feet of the plant source area or adjacent to the site or adjacent. I guess we can take out to the site and delete adjacent to any of the detention filtration basins, reconstruct wetlands or swales. What about swales, in or out?
Can't hurt if you keep it.
Okay, or swales or any other, or any location where the snow melt water would drain directly into any of the systems. So I could take that out, it would seem to me, right? Is that a yes, no?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Right, into any of these systems goes without passing through stormwater treatment systems. Right, that would go too.
yeah,
Yeah.
they aren't building any.
something you gotta think about too is, this thing here, it's what it looks like out there. They're not gonna be driving cars up there. It's just equipment once in a while. I haven't seen a piece of equipment up there yet. And so I don't know if we're being overcautious. So that some of it really doesn't make sense for this application.
All right, so then I'm on snow storage. Snow storage shall be limited to those areas shown on the final plans, but we don't have that.
Right.
No,
There's no snow storage. It's just gonna be side cast, Elaine.
right? The approved plans applicable. And what about this condition shall remain in perpetuity? Stay or go?
Okay,
Stay. And then 49, I just want to go back to 49. Number 50. The use of fertilizers, does that whole thing go?
Are you guys gonna be using fertilizers at all?
No.
No.
So 49 delete.
I don't even think 50
Do-
makes sense. I don't think either of them make sense.
well, I don't know.
When you think about what they're doing, it's
Yeah,
not reasonable.
But aren't you subcontracting some of this work? Sorry.
Well, what?
Yeah, we'll have contractors on the project, correct? Yep.
Yeah.
And then basically we do the environmental field training, we go through the conditions, and we work, hand in hand with them, an environmental monitor, ensure that they, follow the conditions. So I don't think they're applicable, but I don't want to tell the commission what to do. I'm just trying to provide a response here. Sorry.
I feel like it doesn't hurt to keep our standard conditions, some of these things, but I'll defer to you guys. Because you never know what somebody might want to do in the future.
Well, they'd have to do it within the first 3 years.
3 years.
Prior permit.
yeah. We don't control it beyond the duration of the project. But there's no,
I think we were spending a lot of time on this.
Okay. Go on.
Let's, I mean, if you want to keep it, keep it. If you don't. I'm just telling you what I think. Does everyone okay with this? Want to leave it? Gotta say something.
I'm okay with removing it if it doesn't apply.
as I understand the project, it shouldn't apply.
Okay, so 49 is deleted.
Yes,
50 remains with a buffer of 25 feet and the other changes we made.
right.
51, we did 51, 51 stays.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm all caught up.
Okay. Do we want to go through the rest of this? What's all the red?
That I presume is are comments that NEP's folks added.
Okay, well, let's go through those then.
Yes.
No, red is, I think red is my,
You add these, Elaine?
yes, I think I wrote the red based
Okay.
on the orders that we discussed at the last meeting.
Okay, sorry. I thought these came from NEP. I mean, I think 52 makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're not going to apply herbicides. You know, retaining this is fine under the vegetation management operating procedure. They're going to be, you know, following exactly what this says. So I don't have a problem with it staying. We're not doing herbicides associated with the project.
Is this sending, Elaine, can we, instead of private property, can we just say other property?
Uh, Where are you?
Sorry,
52,
52.
because
You know.
you're thinking of Breakheart, which is not private property.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Or there's other Article 97 stuff that belongs to a town.
Yep.
So if that were so, then what I would do is I would end the sentence with to prevent encroachment onto other property.
Okay.
Okay. Got that. And 52. So 52, I've got a comment from NEP that the condition does not apply.
53.
53, excuse me.
yeah,
So 53 delete.
They're not going to use herbicides, then yeah, I would say so.
Okay. I'll take that.
And to clarify, if they're not proposing to do it, then they can't do it anyways. So if we leave it in there and they weren't planning on doing it, do you know what I mean? Like if they were planning on doing it, they would have to tell us that they're doing it, and then we would approve that. But they're not saying that they're going to do it.
yeah,
If we don't have this condition in there, it doesn't matter because they weren't asking to do that. They can't do it legally because they don't have our permission permitted for that.
So this doesn't need to be there, is what you're saying, Ken.
That's how I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah,
Let me know if
okay.
I'm wrong. More experienced folks.
You
but that's
know
how I see it.
the environmental laws better than I think. So
Thanks,
Don't
that's helpful.
Don't trust me.
Okay, so 53 is out.
yeah.
54.
I made the change to 54.
Okay.
55.
Can we go back to 54 for a moment? I don't mean to be difficult, but we're doing a lot of work in the work envelope, and then I don't know how you limit the yearly operating plan folks from also coming in and doing more vegetation management. You can get to a point where the entire right of way is altered, you know, at the same time. So is there a way to, you know, not impact the entire area all at once? I think that was the intent of sort of limiting those yearly vegetation management plans, because they already did move a lot of vegetation before coming here to this meeting. In other words, if you have a priority resource area, it's not going to function if you were to remove the trees from the entire parcel in the right of way. So I think that's what we were trying to avoid.
So I guess the edits that we provided, the reason that we kind of kept it to the work envelopes and the access roads is the vegetation management is on a 5-year cycle. So they do, as you're aware, herbicide application that was for those species that were within, a clearance issue. They then come through, and if there's sideline that's overgrowing to an extent that's now an issue with the lines, they absolutely have to do that because it's in jeopardy of causing a fire, causing, a hazard. So I don't have a way, I don't think the commission can limit the vegetation management of the corridor to maintain reliable electricity. What I'm saying is in the work envelopes and access roads, I can ensure they don't come back and do another round of vegetation clearing and push those out further by providing to the vegetation group, here's our project scope, and then stay in communication with them saying, if you have a cycle coming up for sideline, we're not doing additional mowing in those work envelopes or access roads.
Okay, and Andrew, to clarify, they come through and do it once every 5 years, or is it?
The exact
year?
duration and cycle would have to be, you'd have to read through or talk with the vegetation management group.
Okay.
I did provide those contacts to Elaine and then was hoping that, a subsequent meeting would happen with them and you could walk through, or they could provide you what the cycles are and what the anticipated, sideline versus, herbicide application versus LIDAR, they fly over and capture where there's high vegetation within the center of the right of way, those types of
Okay.
floor vegetation management.
I guess I had read it as one every year. So, okay, that would be great to clarify that. Thank you.
So, forgive, does 54 remain the same?
Yeah, Andrew
Yeah.
explained.
Okay, all right.
So with 55, if I can clarify kind of our question there.
Yeah.
I mean, the right of way, as I'd said, is 150, 200 feet, and it's through several miles of town. So to mark the entire right of way may not be the most productive activity if it's to kind of keep contractors or folks on the line from kind of encroaching into other areas. So I'd suggest kind of a reword of that condition if the intent is to kind of keep them within the the limits of proposed work. Just to require that they essentially stay within those proposed limits.
Which is down below 2 conditions down, right?
I don't think you need that condition at all, because just because you're limited on where you can do work. I mean, you got to do it underneath the supports. You're not going to put them outside. You're not going to do that unless you need a whole new line. Then you come back for something that's much more restrictive than this. I mean, that's you have a finite area that you're going to work because you've got to follow the power lines.
Yeah.
So we have it what we need to cover covered in 57, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so 55 delete.
Yeah. Andrew, I think you should move your microphone away from your keyboard.
All right, I'm aggressive typer. I apologize.
I was wondering who was typing.
It sounded more like bongos.
I thought it was going to be.
It did, yes.
Yeah, right. I thought it was Ken because he's usually typing. Where are we at now?
56.
56.
Wetlands marked in the field. Yes.
Is that already covered elsewhere? or no?
Okay, that should stay, I would
Yeah.
think.
And that's standard practice. You know, that's part of kind of the environmental field training before the crews go out. We will mark all reflag, refresh all the flagging for the resource areas, so they're very visible to any of the crews on site.
And it should be confirmed by the commission, so I should uncross that, I think.
I agree.
Yeah.
Did you hear that one, Elaine? Keep
I did.
and confirmed.
So as a practical matter, is that confirmation, would that essentially be part of the pre-construction meeting where you kind of walk
Sure.
through and
Yeah.
just review the, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We work with you on that. Pretty soon we'll have someone to help us, hopefully. And
Sure
we'll
hope
get-
so.
Okay, so 57 we're on. We gotta move this up a little faster.
Looks like that's accepted with the addition of with flagging, which makes sense. You're okay with 56? Is that what you're saying? 56. I think you guys are okay with that as with the even with the confirmation, provided it's done at the meeting. 57. Any issues there? As edited?
Yeah, no, I think I'm okay with that one.
So Shauna, I think I understand 58. Your concern is the fact that,
There'll be a restoration.
yeah. Because there will be work and alterations within 25 feet of and sometimes within the resource areas.
That's right. Yeah.
For access.
For access, and actually in one case, I think we saw a location where they will actually put a foundation into the resource area.
Can we change project mapping to something else, like application documents or something like that?
How about project maps provided in the application document?
Sure.
Is that what you want?
Maps
Yeah.
or plans? Can we do maps or plans?
Okay, sure.
Except as shown on maps or plans
Of the project provided in the application documents.
provided in the NOI.
In the NOI, okay, thanks.
And approved herein.
And approved under the OOC, this OOC. Okay,
Okay.
So
Got it.
roads aren't being returned to the original condition. Roads are being improved, widened, flattened, etc. Right? So nothing's planned on being returned to how it was. Is that correct?
Correct.
That's
Aren't
correct.
you making roads that are going to be permanent between poles?
Sorry, what was that?
say that again to me, I couldn't understand what you said.
Aren't you going to be? Never mind.
He's talking about the access used
Yeah.
through the BVW with matting. I think that's
Well, so those are only temporary alterations. It's not really an alteration. It's comes right back.
right. So maybe that doesn't apply.
I thought there was going to be grading involved
Yeah.
and bringing of gravel.
I thought there was a layout that you had for the shoulders. It's just crushed stone or something like that.
Right, but they weren't planning on removing them on the way out. They're planning on leaving it as a long-term
Right, right,
maintenance.
because that's gonna be a new access for future needs, right?
Correct.
That's correct. Yes.
So the trail would be gone behind Breakheart or behind, on that stretch, what's Ridge Trail, and replaced with a road.
Well, it would probably go up right where we go to Ridge Trail, right, right there is. And actually, that's a place where the water drains too,
Yes,
actually. We get a lot of water down there. That's gotta be, addressed somehow.
yeah.
Um,
Andrew, one of the documents you sent over included 10,000 square feet of associated grading changes. Where is that happening? It was structure 142, but I didn't see it in your notice of intent. I saw it in the permit from Fish and Wildlife.
Shona, I think she might be describing the threshold under fish natural heritage for total amount of area for the species of interest. Is that ringing a bell to you? Is that what? That's what I think is being described. 10,000 square feet.
Right. Yeah, 10,000 feet. Yes. So with natural heritage, in any given kind of priority habitat area, 10,000 square feet is kind of a threshold before which you get into kind of a take or like a conservation management plan. So you have to keep impacts generally within a priority habitat below that 10,000 square feet.
Yeah, natural heritage considers the habitat type, right, and the species of protection, right. So for this area, the habitat feature we're not impacting, and so 10,000 square feet wasn't exceeded. So 10,000 is just specific to natural heritage and specific to the project limits of work. I don't know that it would be,
Okay.
under 10,000. I doubt that.
Okay, you're saying it's under 10,000. Okay, and that's on an exemption.
I'm saying I don't know that it would be under 10,000 based on the work envelopes and access road cumulative amount of, grading and stoning. I don't know that it's under 10,000.
Okay, because they said, I think invertebrate grading impact limited to 10,000 square feet associated with grading of the work pad for structure 142.
Okay, so yeah, 142, the habitat feature that we are protecting and being cognizant of, that's why it's specifically there. Without that, the plan up 142, I think that habitat feature is what we're trying to outline and reduce impacts on.
So is that the one right off Hemlock Road access, the first tower? Because when you have those square work envelopes, it says 142 parentheses 141.
That sounds correct.
Okay. So I guess.
Okay. Since you're talking that area, that's the, did you plan on doing any type of method to save the water that's gonna go down that goes down that hill right now and heads towards the Vogue? Is that where your access point is?
Yes. Yep. So we would construct the road and implement those BMPs like swales, which would manage the water. So water that's coming down that road, or what I think you're describing as a trail, we would construct the road and we'd have those BMPs, so water bars that manages that water so it doesn't wash out.
Yeah,
So those rock, it's very bouldery, right? It's kind of jagged. Yeah. It's really right now no wider than about 8 feet. So you have to fill, if the invertebrates live on those rocks, don't you have to cover them or put gravel on top of those rocks and put geotextile fabric down first? And then I guess you're changing the grading.
Yeah, if there's bedrock or exposed ledge, we're not going to hammer out rock or anything like that. So, stone will be applied in the limits of the road over those rocks.
So-
I'm a little bit, I think we need to think about this a little bit, because have you been down there, Andrew, and seen the trench that's along the road? Along
Yes,
Breakout
alongside
Road?
the blacktop as you come in
And
off Hemlock.
you can see where it takes a right and goes up the hill. That whole area drains down to that one point.
Mhm.
And it's a lot of water coming down the hill. There's actually some an underground stream there too. I don't know if these water boards are sufficient. I don't have much confidence in that. I don't know. I mean, you can look and see the size of the stones that are left down there. So that's about the size. If you're going to equate that to the flow, the force of the flow, that's about the size you need to stop it from eroding. Do you have any suggestions on what might be done there to address the issue?
Just that the cross-section type detail that we had provided would be what would be installed, and then the contractor.
Okay, well, you need some calculations to show that the flow that's going to receive, you're going to be able to handle with the method that you want to propose. Because I don't want to go on just, no one doing any calculations or something along that line. It's an area that gets a lot of water.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of water. And when you cut the road in up and the top area, it comes down all down those roads. You can see where it flows. It's obvious where it flows, so you know where you're going to have to work and make it accessible. But there's a whole path going up the hill there that's all eroded because that's where the water goes. And I assume that you're going to put your road in that area because that would make the most sense. But you haven't convinced me that you're going to be able to stop the water when it gets down to breakout, or that water has to flow back to the swamp behind the Voke,
Behind the new Voke or the old Voke, Jimmy?
the old Voke. So I question that. I think you need to do some work on that.
There's also another stream that flows across from the edge of the Voke across that what we called wetlands 10, and also flows into the same channel at the bottom. It takes a lot of water.
I have to look at that one. I'm not familiar with that. All right, well, we gotta keep moving here.
So I'm sorry, as I'm typing this up, what do I type into condition 60?
Well, I don't know if people don't agree with me, you just gotta tell me. But I don't think they've handled that part of it very well. I think
Ken, can you put that back up, please?
Yep.
So condition 60 is which one now?
Roads shall be returned to their original conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not accurate, but
No, it's not.
beyond that, there needs to be Jimmy, you're suggesting there be a condition here, or this condition be expanded to say something along the lines of that the
water that flows down there has to be maintained to the same criteria it is now,
Suppose-
the applicant may not alter the
flow.
existing flows to resource areas both on and off site as a result of the project's construction, right?
Yeah.
Suppose we say roads shall be returned to accommodate original drainage.
It sounds like they want to keep the roads, but I think we have to understand what the current, like usually we have plans that show what the current elevation differences are, and then and grading and then proposed.
Well, normally we see a drainage plan that ultimately shows that there's no change in terms of the flows from a particular watershed in a particular watershed.
Yes, right.
Net, they all the flows in the watershed ought to be the same.
Yeah, I mean, if they're gonna put a channel on the side of the road or something like that, we should have a detail for that. Or, I mean, that's just a suggestion. I don't know if that would be the best thing to do, but I think that, I think that just running it down the end of the stream and letting it flow is at the end of the property and let it flow down breakout or something like that is not really.
Yeah, so the cross section 2 and the swales that are on either side of the road that's being implemented, they can put check dams, right? So if the road is going up through and you have water flowing from left to right, and that's changing the water that traditionally would go down and hit that swale that goes down towards the old Votech, the swales that are on the sides would pick up that water and convey it in that channel, and they would do check dams, so stone, right, that would slow that flow.
Okay,
And that's a typical BMP, so that it manages how fast that water flows and make sure it doesn't erode. So they put those progressively down in that channel, and that would get it to the bottom where you hit the blacktop, and then it would continue down the existing channel that we're not touching down the blacktop.
Yeah, that's fine. I think you just got to support it with some calculations and present that. I think that sounds reasonable, but I think I want someone to do a calculation and tell me that it's going to accept the drainage area that it has to and function right. So I'm okay with that idea.
Jimmy, are you saying that it's going to change the flow and increase?
Well, I think if depending on what they do, it's going to change the flow. It might even percolate into the ground fast. I don't know if they're using gravel and stuff like that. It may. That's the question that should be answered. Not, that's why I'm asking the question. I don't know. But Andrew's got what he's saying makes a lot of sense. But I just want to know that. Is there some confidence that you can give me that it's gonna, someone's looked at this and said, yeah, we're gonna, or it's got we need 8-inch stone here as a, restriction for the water, or something like that.
I mean,
don't want to put some pea stone down there and have it wash out every storm.
It's essentially a new road construction, right? I mean, there was an existing path there, but there's no gravel. It's dirt, it's rocky. You can't get any kind of vehicle up it.
Well, I do think that at some point it was a lot smoother than that. I think the weather has won it to its existing shape. So it is a big area. Andrew, have you by any chance been over there when it's raining or anything and looked at it?
No, I have not been there when it's raining. I've been present in the spring to see the water, that percolates out, on the slope and follows where, the walking path is, because it's path of least resistance, right? So that's where the road would be going. And the road type is stone, right? So rain is still going to be able to infiltrate in water that would be going, either side slope or coming down slope. It's still going to be able to infiltrate. So I guess I'm trying to convey that the construction and the road material type, it's all allowing infiltration and managing flow and velocity with those check dams and water bars.
Well, I'll tell you what, I would say we could put that in the conditions with the idea that you're going to get someone to do a calculation to show that to show that what you're proposing is going to work. And I have no problem signing this order of conditions. We can put something like that in there. At least you get that to us even after the hearing's closed.
I understand. Yeah, that would be ideal if we can close. I mean, is it way to describe this in particular areas? Because it sounds like there's 2 areas that you're referencing, that trail area there, and then a bit further on that I think you guys have referenced that is a an intermittent stream or a stream of
Yeah,
some
that's,
type.
that's down the other end of the, you know, that's closer to Farm Street and,
Mhm.
um, in that area there, the only thing I mean, the water comes down that area too. And, I think in that area, there's a road there, which could use some grading and stuff like that. I don't think you have to change the grades there much. I just was more worried that you're gonna raise the grade up. But the grade where it's at now is what I think needs to be maintained. To keep within guidelines that we're working with. So I'm pretty open to that. I almost think that you could, if you were out there, we could come out there if you show us what you're gonna do and how it's gonna work. Maybe we could resolve that in the field with our agent.
Can that be resolved at the pre-construction meeting, Jimmy?
I would think so I don't see why not.
I mean, could it be written to say pre-construction activities will include evaluation of BMPs to be implemented during construction to manage stormwater?
Yeah, what
But
is everyone?
isn't it a permanent change? I think there's a lot of, alteration. I don't know how many other right-of-ways they're putting in 2 new roads, like it traverses both sides. Andrew, I think in your other examples, there's just one. So we have 2 new roads. They're going from small trails to 16 feet wide. There's going to be grading changes. I would think we'd want to see the plan before. I mean, I'll defer to you guys, but I would think we would want more details in the plan before we
Approve?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see your
Well,
point.
there were were there cross sections of the roadway with the crown and the swales
Yeah,
on
the
the
detail.
edges and
Yes.
and the
Yep.
slope coming off of it, right? So they did provide details as far as how the road will be constructed.
In the NOI.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, maybe I gotta go back and look at that. But the grading changes?
So
Okay,
the grading changes, I think the way it was described was they're just flattening it out wherever they need to, rather than giving us like a contour plan and saying we're filling here, we're filling there. It was more like we're just trying to flatten it out to maintain a road. So because that varied so much along the length of the road, I don't think it was like a typical, construction drawing where it shows cut and fills. I think it was a little bit more nuanced than
It was a
that.
technical detail section. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with Ken. I mean, I envision this as just, I mean, in my mind, it doesn't look like it's a problematic thing here. It's just, it's kind of a rough project. It's not going to be like driving down Main Street. It's going to be just a dirt path that's hopefully going to retain it with some good gravel, and maybe they can fix some of the problems that I'm sure they will when they grade it to get past all those rocks going up from onto Braycott. I mean, that's an area that I would think they're going to have the most trouble. But most of it looks like you could just not much filling to fix it. What they want. I don't see that. Where are we at now? I think we're
Still number 60. So if I were to say drainage shall be drainage instead of road, but drainage shall be returned to its original condition, how would that be?
Original
Yeah.
condition and flow rates.
What are we trying to get at? Do we want the water to go to the same place that it's always
Yeah.
going to?
that's the thing when I mean, that's what you're supposed to do is get the water getting the same flow. Well, actually for us, it's a rate. velocity.
But we talked about conditioning a meeting to discuss the BMPs to
And that's a good idea.
ensure that the water is ending up where it needs to go, right? Is that where we ended up?
Yeah, that's where we ended up.
So if I say drainage shall be returned to its original condition and flow rates, then where do I add the language about the BMPs?
Um,
What's the
They best-
proposal, Ken, that they present the BMPs that they're planning to implement in various areas?
it's- Yeah,
I think Jimmy's big concern, well, our big concern is that there's lots of heavy flow in certain areas.
Right.
And we're worried that the hydrology will change in those
Mhm.
areas or it'll wash out a new road, deposit newly placed sediments, go somewhere else. So I think what they're saying is by implementing these BMPs, they're going to control the water, prevent erosion, and hopefully keep it to where it's going. Jimmy kind of alluded to this. In theory, what they're constructing is going to be better for drainage rather than existing conditions where it'll flow through gravel, it'll be maintained a little bit better with water bars or swales or check dams. Does that answer your question? Does that make sense? So I think by the use of BMP, I think we're just really concerned that those are trouble areas and they need to be careful and not make it worse. And by using those BMPs, they'll be able to control those areas and maintain the existing hydrology. I'm being careful with saying hydrology because I don't want to say, if it flows to the left or flows to the right and ends up in the same place, that's okay.
Mhm.
That's altering hydrology on a tiny scale, but in the grand scheme of things, you're not preventing the water that needs to go to whatever wetland is present. You're not changing that overall flow to get to that wetland. And that's our major concern. So hopefully with these BMPs and with how they construct the road and how they're careful with it, they'll be able to be aware of that issue, prevent it, fix it if it becomes an issue. I don't know how you condition that, to be honest with you.
what if you say the applicant shall supply their best management practice proposed for this area for our acceptance or
Yeah,
our
detailed.
approval?
For what
detailed-
area, Jimmy?
Off of Hemlock Road. I don't know how to describe the location, but it's right
Well,
up to
I'm looking at one of their maps. I'm looking at looks like it's plate. It's page 47 out of their NOI, which shows the old Volk and Ken, can you bring that up or shall I?
I'm working on it. If you have it, go right ahead.
I have it on screen. Let me see if I'll come back and share. Where the heck is it?
Is there stationing kind of along the alignment that we can use?
141, 142 looks like, am I correct that this is what you're talking about, Jimmy and Eleanor? And I don't know this neighborhood as well as you guys do, so I'm gonna rely on you. But the bottom, the thing in the bottom is the old Volk
Yeah.
building.
Yeah.
Hemlock
I had the
Road.
impression, sorry, I had the impression as you come up Old Hemlock and you're right there at 142 parenthesis 141, that's
Yeah.
where you turn right and that's a slope that climbs up the hill. And that's where I thought was being described as problematic drainage.
Yeah, I guess I'll ask Jimmy and Eleanor to,
I'm trying to figure out where it is.
I don't know enough about the neighborhood to know where this flow issue is a problem.
So
Yeah.
if you park at Hemlock and there's the blue gate sign right there off the parking lot, that's the wrought iron gates. You walk through
Right
to
here.
the left is, yep, right there exactly. And then you're on the
Okay,
hard top.
yeah.
You walk through going straight, and as you hit the right of way,
Right up in through
That's-
here.
exactly, yep, still a hard top. It's like a blacktop road.
Yep.
And edge of the right of way there where we make it turn to the left, heading towards 142, parentheses 141. That's that slope that I'm pretty confident is what is concerning to Jim.
Yeah, it's a slope as you go up the hill. So if you walk up Hemlock Road, here, and then just to the right where that square is the entrance to the Ridge Trail. It's marked.
This
And
is
it
where
has-
this 142 is, Eleanor?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And it's quite steep and ragged with big boulders because the sediment's been washed away. It's not like a typical gentle grading existing road. It's a little more involved.
Mm-hmm.
Can we just say in the area between 141 and 142, or
Yeah.
in the area of 142?
It's 142 to 143. I think we have to look at the plan where they're doing.
Well, 142 and then 141 is over to the left. Is 143 would be the next one to the right?
Yes,
I don't see that on here. Is that?
It's
I
the
think you've
next
just-
page down.
the next page.
I have to go get that.
I can share, I have it.
I think
Yeah.
143, it's pretty flat.
Why
Over
don't I
there?
stop share and
Or
give it
141.
back to you, Ken?
You bet. So this is 142, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
Here's the entrance, 142, going from left to right, you have 143, which takes you down.
Down here. Yeah. Okay.
I think this is past what we're talking about, right?
Right,
If we're traveling to the
right.
northeast or southeast. So can we just keep it simple and say in the area of 142?
It's
And then-
go on.
Nope, go ahead.
143 is to the right.
That's
Yes.
correct.
So 143 is where the other problem is, isn't it? Then,
That was my next question. So is
Yep.
this the
Yep,
area where you're talking about sheet flow, Jimmy?
yes.
Okay,
So that's I think it's one of those things where you just get out there and hash it out with,
yeah.
the agent and you guys to just make sure that we get the flow in the right direction.
But just
Yeah.
kind of
Down
describing the
towards-
areas.
Down towards the wetland on the south boundary, right?
Right, it goes into wetland number 3, right?
right.
Which they've got labeled as 19.
Yeah, but just kind of as a general, I guess the question was, how do I identify where we're doing this? And
Yeah,
if we mentioned in the areas, adjacent to 142 and 143,
yeah.
Yeah.
we'll know what they're talking about. And hopefully, do you folks need a better descriptor than that?
No, I do not. No, I understand clearly what you guys are asking for based on those landmarks, those map references.
And Elaine, if you can just kind of take a paper and just mark it up just a little bit to document exactly where we're talking about, just for our own internal reference, if we go out there and talk to them, that'd be helpful.
Okay, so 142 and 143, they're labeled, I'm sorry, I'm getting this on my cell phone. So it's very small. Are
Okay.
areas 142 and 143 marked on a plan?
Yes.
They're marked in the NOI plans.
I would
NOI
actually,
mappings, I guess.
What number plan, if you could give it to me?
47 and 48 are the pages of the NOI.
It's
Okay, so suppose I say, best management practices shall be constructed so that drainage shall be returned to its original condition and flow rates with, in the areas adjacent to, in the vicinity adjacent to areas 142 and 143.
can we
How's
say
that?
maintained? Because they're not changing it and then changing it again. They're
Right.
just working around it and then leaving it as is. So if you use something like maintain, that means they have to keep it the way it is.
All right, BMPs shall be constructed and maintained
Implemented.
to allow drainage to be returned to its original condition and flow rates.
I think, Ken, what you were saying is to allow drainage to be maintained consistent with the original conditions and flow rates prior to this
That's
project.
correct. That's what I was trying to say, yeah. So the
Right.
flow rates and where it goes shall be maintained.
To its original,
No,
to
no
be,
original.
Not to its returning to, but rather that the drainage shall be maintained consistent with the original conditions of the site prior to the construction.
to be returned to the original
Elaine, no return.
Not
Just
returned
maintained.
to, maintained.
maintained to the original condition of drainage prior to construction? Prior to construction?
And I'm gonna let you comment, because
Yeah, existing conditions prior to construction, that's fine.
is it maintained to or maintained consistent with the original conditions prior to construction?
It sounds, either one sounds fine by me.
All right,
All right, BMP shall be constructed to allow drainage to be maintained to the original conditions, the original drainage conditions prior to construction. Particularly or in the
At-
areas adjacent to areas 142 and 143.
Yeah, are
is
those,
it areas or structures?
yeah, are
Are
those
those structures,
structures, are
Andrew?
those pads? What do you call those?
Structures, 142 and 143 are structures. Yes.
Structures 142 and 143.
Can you pull the map back up? I think you want to extend it one more further. Because you have that area in between, let's see. We get it.
I have it on screen if you want to look at it.
Yeah, in between 143 and 144. So I think that area between 143 and 144 also has some potential grading changes that would impact, as we said, wetland, what we used to call wetland. Is that 5, and then this wetland 20.
Okay,
And
is there an issue with including all those locations? All right,
Yeah, no issue. Yeah, please include.
Yeah.
thank you for catching
Okay.
those.
So in the areas adjacent to structures 142, 143, and 144?
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually adjacent to in between, because we're really talking
Yeah.
about where the road passes. It's the road between the structures more than it is the area right around the structures, I think, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially between 143 and 144, because there's a whole area around 144 that has no grading allowed.
Right. And I
Okay,
guess
in the area between structures 142, 143, and 144.
Right.
Okay, I got it.
And I guess while we have this map up, it looks like 2 new roads constructed, and we want to, and NEP is proposing to leave them, but then there's this, I'm not sure what's staying and what's going. There's a triangle, and then, place where it crosses right through the wetlands. So would that be permanent? It would just.
Yeah, so these are like
But-
roads that have, sorry, didn't mean to jump.
Go on,
over
sorry,
there.
go on.
These are roads that have, are present or have been used. So we just reflected them on the maps as options that the contractor could use. So to be frank, they're going to select one access to address and get to the structures and perform the work. So at the end of the day, they're not going to improve all three of these. More than likely, it's going to be the one that gets them to structure 143 and 144 shortest and most concisely. But we just provided what's present out there based on historic access that's been used.
And if ever there's a path that goes through the wetland, that is a temporary disturbance using matting for access.
Exactly. Yep.
They're
The
not
crosshatch red
building-
is the matting.
They're
Exactly.
not building roads in the wetland, that they're only using temporary matting within a wetland.
Exactly.
To removed and hopefully goes back to where it should be eventually.
What else we got now? We almost there?
Starting to sound that way.
Can we go back to 59? I just want to make sure that I understand it. Measures shall be taken to ensure that no new invasive plants are introduced into this area. And there shall be remediation for any new infestations in accordance with supervision of the Conservation Commission. Okay, it reads well, but how does that work? How is that going to work? You don't want herbicide. And then
Breaking up, Elaine.
if they do infest the area, how are you going to require NEP to remediate? How does it work in practice?
Did you draft this condition, Elaine?
No, I took what was recommended as a condition at the last meeting and wrote it down.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there any invasive plants down there?
There's some new ones.
There could be, couldn't there, over,
I'd say it's very likely. Yeah, I mean, it's a right-of-way corridor. Invasives
Right.
are, throughout the Commonwealth. It's pretty hard to maintain, right? So
There used to not be, but there are more now. Like in the last year, it was 2 years ago, it was all blueberries and yellow indigo and pretty much all native. So I think it's a condition that should be there. I don't know if you make it that the commission approves the plan, like approves the remediation plan or something like that, or we have some say in how it will be remediated.
well, you're talking about any new invasive plants. I don't know how you determine it, if they're new.
yeah, could it be written that the applicant will review work envelopes and access roads for new populations of invasive plants
Yeah.
and mitigate?
And if new plants are
It does,
observed, shall provide a mitigation plan for review
oh, so that, so.
and
And
approval by the
implementation.
commission.
So in the process of putting the mats down, you damage the plants so that they grow more plants?
No, we're
Is that
talking
what
about
you're
saying?
new, right?
Right, like if they
Yeah,
bring in
new, right.
knotweed,
That
Like
would
they
be
bring in-
new.
yeah.
If they bring in soil that they're using as fill and that has seeds from somewhere, and now you have a new population. So,
Well, I'm
so
just
like
wondering
Andrew
about,
said, if they find new populations, then shall provide a plan for mitigation for
Okay.
review and approval.
Can you
Okay.
give me that language that everybody agrees on? Could you just give me that language?
Ken, you had it pretty well laid out, so can you repeat what you said?
Applicant shall review,
what about the sentence where,
existing conditions. Andrew, you said it. I don't know the best way to say it, to review it as you go along and see if you identify new invasive species.
Yeah, applicant will review work envelopes, access roads for existing invasives.
Hold
And
on, you're going too fast for me. Work
Sorry.
envelope,
Yeah, I was hoping there was a chat function to just write in the chat, which isn't.
access road, access
Access road and
road,
work envelopes
work envelopes I have, access roads, and keep going.
for invasive species populations.
Yep.
And if new populations develop
Are identified.
are identified
During construction.
during construction, the applicant will provide a mitigation plan to the commission to manage or mitigate the invasive species population, something along those lines.
For
Got it.
review and approval.
For
On approval,
And try to use shall, applicant shall provide.
provide the plan for review and approval and then implement the plan as approved.
That's good. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks,
Got it.
Roger, as well.
All right, we're
um,
moving on now.
I got 59. Thank you very much.
Okay.
60 we said doesn't
You
apply,
delete
right?
60. No, delete 60. They're
No,
not
wait a
for-
minute. 60 was the one where
We
we
just
said,
went through all the different language we're gonna substitute, right?
Yeah,
But this
Yeah.
says they'll be returned to their original
It's-
condition. Well,
that's
only
being
that area.
removed and we're changing it to be the BMPs. So we're removing the roads in original condition and we're
Yeah.
changing it to keeping the
Drainage.
hydrology and the flow the same.
Right.
Yeah.
So yes, it is being replaced.
oh, okay. All right. And then
And
61, there was some discussion at the last meeting. There was no real firm resolution, so I simply included it as a question, if you want to
Yeah.
debate further.
I see Shauna has a comment on that.
I don't think it applies because they are building roads for the equipment that they're going to use and they're using the right matting material for the equipment they're going to bring. So, those are designed for that specialized equipment that Shona mentioned that is needed. So it'd be tough for us, maybe not fair for us to restrict certain equipment in consideration of the roads that they are building. That's how I
So
see it.
delete-
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to ask, delete?
Yeah, I don't think you can put any restrictions on the equipment. We don't even know
Yeah.
how
We
they
don't
need it.
really have any ability to define what it is now.
Okay, got it.
And the next one, where is that? I'm not sure.
Does that get covered by the?
Did we cover that as 141, 142, 143, 144? Is it in that vicinity or is it someplace else? Jimmy or?
I can't read the whole thing. What do you wrote? I can't see the numbers. I don't know. Okay, 62.
What was the comment on it or question?
Yeah, this was the one where number 62, the intermittent stream along Ridge Trail is missing. And then what was wetlands 10 for the Voke project that's in the power line cut, but transects both properties, and it's a little bit closer to Hemlock Road, but still up on the ridge. That's not mapped, and there's a little intermittent stream. So I think if they missed it and it was marked on an adjacent project, we probably need to have the commission sign off on, what wetlands are delineated or missing. But that seemed to be the area to me.
Is that within the project area?
Yes, it's hard to tell from the map because the wetland 10 is not mapped, but it has an outlet that drains across that I saw and runs across and down into the Ridge Trail and connects with the other stream that starts up the hill. I don't know if you want me to kind of draw it. It might be, you see where the road comes down? It might be like from 142, follow the road to the right. And then, yep, and then take a right. I think it's down closer to this, the Voke, you know, almost where that bend is, somewhere down there. I think Elaine would be able to get coordinates for it, but somewhere in this area over here.
Is it enough to to require that they map the intermittent stream between structures 142 and 143?
Yeah, it's also a wetland. That, you know, I guess I'm a little concerned that it
So
wasn't.
there's a permanent wetland in that area?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. It was on the, it was marked on the Voke project,
Okay. And it doesn't
but
show.
it, you know, it extends across the property line.
Right.
But, you know, for the Voke, they just delineate right up to the edge, you know, and kind of cut it like that.
But can we condition that somehow to be,
I
to
feel like-
kind of outline and say, oh, you know, provide,
No, we sure this is a stream by definition?
It's, I don't know that it's a stream. It's a, there's an outlet. It's only probably intermittent. But I think that requires somebody with
Well-
more expertise to go look at it. But it was marked as a BVW for the Vogue project.
so can we say, you know, between areas or platforms, or whatever, 142 and 143, applicant shall review area for presence of intermittent stream or wetlands not captured in project documents?
Don't we want them to add it to the documents or no?
Yeah, I'm saying they have to identify it and then add it, but
You have to
We can-
identify it as a resource area to begin with, though. I mean,
Yeah.
it may not even qualify. I'm not, is it coming into or going out of a pond or a wet or a swamp or something, or how's it?
Well, it was
Yeah.
identified as a resource area on the Vogue project. It's one wetland that crosses the property line. So I don't know why,
So it's got an outlet.
but the outlet, yes, runs across, sort of up the page and connects to that ridgeline trail and runs down.
Okay.
You can see it with the vegetation, and now that there's so much has been cleared, it's a lot more visible.
If the commission is amenable, if you're able to kind of mark where these are, or, you know, when we do our reflagging prior to construction start, these are areas that we can pick up and add to our mapping,
Yeah, because
and, you know, resubmit the mapping with, you know, these areas identified, whether this is kind of a jurisdictional intermittent stream or, you know, a drainage channel that we need to be aware of during construction.
I'd be amenable to that.
yeah, I agree to that. That would keep
Yeah.
things moving forward, but you would be on the hook to provide it and abide by all our conditions associated with.
And certainly something we
Conditions.
can review in a pre-application, or sorry, a pre-construction meeting as well, kind of walking to these areas to see where the wetlands is at the edge of the property.
So Elaine, can we add that as a condition for?
Yeah, could you give
applicant?
the language? I like that language, but I'd like to make sure I've got it clear. Could you give me the language on it, please?
So-
Me?
I
yeah,
think I think Shauna suggested something that made sense.
Okay,
So prior to construction, NEP will confirm wetlands, confirm wetlands on the project right of way identified in adjacent, adjacent corridor, adjacent project corridor. And add these to the project mapping to be submitted to the commission prior to
Yes.
construction activities.
Did you mention between 142 and 143? I'm sorry, I zoned out for a second.
It's just in this area. There's a
Yes,
okay.
it was.
Those are the ones I visually could see. There may be two others closer to Farm Street, but I did not visually see those, and they would be small. But maybe something more general that at the pre-construction, all wetlands, are flagged, and we've walked to identify any missing wetlands and ensure they're incorporated into the maps.
Okay, I think I've got it.
Mhm.
So I can, if you want to do that, Eleanor, then I would open this up and say NEP will confirm wetlands as shown on the project right-of-way identified on the adjacent project. And then say, and any other wetlands. In other words, if you want to open it up, not just to the one that's shown on the boat plan, but to any others they might come across, I would add language to that effect.
Yeah,
But when you do the site walk or pre-construction, keep that one in mind when you're reviewing.
Okay,
This is for Elaine or whoever the agent is.
all right. All right, I've got it.
okay, where we at?
63.
Listen to you guys.
I would have said we don't need this, but now that some of the roads that were depicted on the maps may not be used at all,
Okay,
I'm
but
not
what
sure.
what would be the purpose of depicting the road location? I mean, they're allowing for the permanent changes, right?
Okay. Yeah, and after the 3 years, if they don't use the roads that they're not going to build all the roads, just the ones they need access to, even though more are marked on the plan. That's what Andrew said. So we could take this off if the intent is not to remove grading.
I agree.
Yeah,
So delete 63.
okay, I think 64 can stay.
Just you reference another condition, so just make sure that's up to date.
Yes, yes, because by the time we finish, I go through the stuff that's been deleted, that number is going to change. But it'll
Right.
always be the last condition in the order, so I can attach the letter to it.
Yep.
Okay. Is that it then?
So Jimmy, how do we do this? We have to close the hearing and then.
Well, first I want to ask anyone that's out there that might want to put some comments in. Is there anyone here, a resident or Someone that's an interested party that wants something to say? I can see the crowd. Crowd of zero.
So-
Yeah, well,
Before we
What-
close, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just don't want us to close before I ask this question. Do we have a DE file number on it yet?
oh shoot, that's right too. I would think they would by now. Do you have a deed file?
Last I had,
You
got an
do.
email
Yes,
saying
we
that.
do.
Yeah, they have it. Yeah, they have it.
It's on the agenda. It's DEP 313-643.
Sorry about that. I thought I was in. I thought I'd seen an email that it hasn't been assigned. It must have been for another project. Okay, 6:43, we're all set.
Okay. So, does anyone have any more comments they want to make? Everyone's happy with what we've done so far?
Yeah, I just had, sorry, another question for Andrew. When, I know at the last hearing you guys mentioned those towers were sort of past their useful life along that stretch of in Breakheart. When, but the NOI said just line replacements. So when will you be replacing those towers?
I don't have that information tonight. I don't know the plan to replace the structures. I don't have that answer.
Okay, I thought it was imminent.
There are structures that will be replaced, kind of on the other side of the project end off of Audubon Road. So those are the ones of the wooden, you know, the
Mhm.
two poles with the cross. So those will be replaced. Those are end of life. And the ones kind of in the area we've just been discussing in Breakheart, those are different structure types. So those are steel monopoles, and they're not end of life. So
Okay.
those are not being replaced. It's just in that area, it's just the overhead, the shield wires being replaced and
Okay.
some components on the overhead, so that it's not a structural replacement.
And what's the useful life on the metal monopoles?
I don't have that answer.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
okay. So, can someone make a motion to close the hearing?
Did the public have a question? Or did anybody?
I already asked that. No one answered.
Sorry.
Motion to close the public hearing.
I'll
We need-
second it.
All in favor? We're gonna poll you. Paul,
Yes.
Haley,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
I'm okay. Who else did I miss?
Eleanor.
Oh, Eleanor. Jeez, how could I miss Eleanor?
Yes.
Okay. So that's it, right?
The hearing
we-
is closed.
So we
Yeah.
can vote on those conditions as discussed today, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we can vote on. Okay, so someone's gonna make a motion to issue the.
Conditions that we've edited tonight. I'll move that.
I'll second.
Second.
Sorry.
Let's poll everyone again. Paul,
Yes.
Haley,
Yes.
Eleanor,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well.
Okay.
Okay, so we have 21 days to get this out. I don't think it's gonna take 21 days. I have to check with Elaine, but that would be the time frame.
Okay. Thank you for
guys
your
are
time and
set.
patience. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Your efforts.
Okay. Have a good night.
Good night.
Too.
Bye-bye.
Okay. So as far as what we have on the agenda, other business, Butler Ave, 17 Butler Ave, did you get an as-built from them?
I have the as-built. I do not yet have the recording of the order of conditions nor the cover letter from the engineer. So it's still not ready. I just request that it be continued to the next meeting.
Okay. Bylaw Review Committee, Judy must know something about this.
I sent you an email about the stuff they were reviewing at the last meeting.
Yeah. Okay,
Did you look at it?
No, I did not.
The stream setback bylaw, it still has
Yeah,
the
I
same
know.
language.
You know, I think you
But-
gave me, when's the date on that?
It was last week, the meeting, but they're looking for input because they're gonna bring this forward at the Springtown meeting.
Oh,
So
you can
if
just
you-
send some information out there to them?
I didn't send anything out. No, I'm not on the commission.
I know, no, I didn't say you. I said, I'm saying you can send, not meaning you, but they'll accept something from someone.
Yes,
Okay,
yes, they were looking for input from the boards. So I think it would be
Okay.
good for the commission to have
Yeah.
input. Since
need to
this
do that.
bylaw is something that you championed against and want to repeal. And it still
Yes.
contains the language that you said was incorrect.
okay. Thank you.
So what are you gonna do about it?
What?
What are you gonna do about it?
Didn't Jimmy
I
send a
will- I'm
letter
gonna
out?
call- I'm gonna send them an email and,
I think there's a working group that maybe, Judy, maybe you know better than me because I only got secondhand information that planning board had some concerns and they were going to send potentially 2 representatives to work on a working group to make edits. Had you heard anything like that?
No,
Okay.
they may, I don't know.
Okay. I
Hmm.
think we can find out, but
well, the goal is that we need to get rid of that. It's not inappropriate. It's just not, it's not right.
mhm.
Jimmy, you expressed that in the letter, right? Can you just,
Yeah.
can you take that language from that letter that we kind of
Yeah, I
looked
can.
at
I
and
have-
send it?
Yep.
But I think
Yep.
it needs to be more than just the verbiage. It needs to be a request to see if a repeal can be included as well.
Mm.
Yeah, I can do that, but,
Because
If
it's not
everyone-
enough to change the language, because if you just mention the language, then they could just change it and then it remains as a bylaw. That's the problem.
okay. Okay. All right.
But
I will work.
Do we want to designate somebody to kind of follow like what's going on there?
No, I mean, I started this thing with getting this thing out of there. I'd like to finish it if I could. Because it's, have you read it? The original bylaw? That's, okay, well. What we can talk about, we'll talk about it at the next meeting then. All
Yeah.
right, I'll get some information for everyone. So that we can talk about it. Is that all right?
Yeah. No, I'm happy if you want to run with that.
So the only thing I have left to bring up is, or what I want to bring up, actually, is the applications for a agent. So we have like, I think, I don't know, how many do we have? 23, 24 applications? And I think everyone has gotten a copy of them, correct?
Yes,
Everyone has a copy of them?
Mhm.
So I picked out 3 that I thought was, and I want to pick out a 4th. I think I see another one that I think might be good. Now, do you guys, how involved do you want to be with this? Do you want to, work on, do you want to be involved in, the interviews? Do you want to just go over the resumes or?
you already have the interview set up, so
Yeah, we've got it set up for 3 of them, right?
3.
Yeah. So I know there's one more. And we at least, I think, does anyone have anything to say about it? Is there?
Are we able to say who the ones that we have set up for interviews are? Are we able to talk about
No,
names or anything?
needs to, no, it should be done in executive session.
Yeah.
Well, that was the other thing. We can't do this
I-
we post a meeting and just like do it up in the conference room or something?
It has to be an executive session.
Can
And that,
we-
we talked
Can we
about.
move
that
this
before.
meeting to executive session now?
It's not posted as that.
On the
I don't think
agenda.
we can do it without
Yeah.
posting it.
We would have to do it at our next meeting.
Right, and the problem is if people enter a meeting, they automatically can come into the executive session. So this happened before and they had to keep getting put out into another room.
Oh, there's no way with Zoom to keep them out of the
No,
executive session.
No, because they can just log off and log back in, and then they come back in the
I
room.
see.
All right, so, did you see the three? Everyone's got a, does everyone know which of the three are that we
No,
looked at?
No,
No.
I'll send them around to you.
please.
I think they were, I know some people had talked about a couple of them already. I'll send them around to you.
Okay,
so
And
there's
then,
no other way
I'll
to
get
get
that-
around that executive session thing? I mean,
I
do you
I
want
mean,
me
I
to
don't think
police
so.
it
That's
and
one,
just,
that's one of the criteria for an executive session is when you're gonna discuss employee. I mean, I don't know. To me, I don't think it's appropriate to talk about the people in an open session.
Mhm.
right, so let's plan, can we
agree.
plan for an executive
yeah, I
session?
don't
and
want to do that in an open
we'll just
session. I don't
try
think
to-
that's,
We'll just try to keep up and kick people out as needed?
Yeah, I mean, we can do that. The interviews are next week.
No,
And it doesn't mean you can't, more people can't be interviewed. I mean, it's just the initial interviews, so.
Right. I'm fine with the panel you've selected to, for Jimmy and company to do the first round interviews and see if you like these people or not and think, and whether you want to move them to the next stage. And then I'd be happy to jump in and do an interview.
okay. All right,
Who's doing the interview?
what's that? Oh, I was gonna do it with, Elaine and Judy.
Mhm.
Nice.
Okay. That works.
Yeah. And then the other thing too is if it's like a no-brainer or something. You guys can just give us an update. Vaguely. If you agreed on the same candidate or,
Well, you guys gonna look through your, Judy's gonna get you copies of the three that we
Hey, yeah,
looked
we
at.
have it, yeah.
And then you can look at those, see if any of those that you like, see if we get a consensus on one of them, if possible. We can look, we've looked at, there was a couple more that came in, right? So did you look at those?
Mhm.
So, I mean, most of them, a lot of them don't have a lot of, well, they're fresh out of college and they don't have a lot of experience.
I
Yeah.
do worry about that because this is the type of role where there really isn't anybody to mentor you,
Right, yeah, that's right.
And so it's better, I think, better suited for somebody with experience who's comfortable being independent and who knows how to kind of navigate uncertainty.
Yeah,
I think it depends on the personality. It could be, I don't have a problem with it being a new grad if they have that confidence and good research skills. I think a lot can be, I think that can be an advantage. They're not coming in with a certain mindset.
well, there's pros and cons to all of it.
Yeah.
You just got to see if we can pick the best combination for Wakefield. We do need someone that's ready to go on a lot of the stuff with the wetlands, and it's a lot of reading and, I don't think a person just out of college is, has
That's
the
been
best,
my problem with with a lot of the ones we've had is that they aren't going to be able to manage
I mean,
But I
not
think
that
you don't,
you
I
in
couldn't-
don't,
in a,
I don't
in a
think you
work
really know.
environment where there's not going to be any close supervision.
but I
Yeah.
don't think you really know until you
Yeah,
talk to the person and get a feel for it.
I would agree with you
Right.
there, Judy. But just looking at their, resumes, there were
Yeah.
very few that struck me as, but there were a few.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
I'll look at your list and compare it to the ones I've noted, and if I have anyone
Yeah.
to suggest, I'll pass that on.
and if you could just, say what you saw as their strong point, or what you saw as an advantage, or maybe
You
what you
can't
saw.
send it, you can't send it to the group. You can't send your opinions to the
I'll
group.
send it to you, Judy.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay,
And then I can share it with Jim and Elaine.
Yeah,
Mhm.
all these rules and regulations. Good.
well,
Okay.
it's the open meetings law issue.
Okay, so that was it for me. Does anyone have anything they want to talk about?
Yeah, can we talk about Oak Street? The email that I sent?
Yes,
The house is under agreement, so what are you gonna do?
So I sent, do you mind if I weigh in on this?
No,
ahead.
be helpful.
Oh, sorry, phone just slipped off. It stands there. So I got the same email from Judy. And what I did was I got the name of the real estate agent. And I informed her that the property had an existing enforcement order on it. Here it is here. Okay. The real estate agent, Tracy Johnson of lyvrealty.com. Dear Ms. Johnson, please be advised that this property is subject to a Wakefield Conservation Commission order, which has not been addressed by the property owner. This obligation runs with the land, and any new property owner will be subject to fulfill its requirements, which involve encroachment on town-owned land and the cost of removing that encroachment. For further information, please contact me. And I gave my cell phone number. I am only in the office on Friday afternoons, and this is my cell phone number. Attached to this email is further information to more fully explain the specifics of these issues. That would be the information that Judy had found, and that was attached to the email I sent to the real estate agent. So I went into the office this afternoon, but I did not see a response from her. So I figured that what I would do is wait until I'm back in the office again on Friday and give her a call. I did want to put something in writing, so there would be a record of it, especially with a real estate transaction. But I will call her on Friday to see if she got the email and have her be informed.
Sorry, Elaine, go ahead.
I could also send a copy of that or a letter of that to the current property owner.
The house is now under contract,
Right.
and the one, I don't know if it's the people that are under contract, but someone came in to speak with Samantha, the new planner, about an addition, a second story on the garage. So she may have information on the potential buyers.
Question, does our enforcement order show up on their title? Would
No,
it show up on their titles? No,
Why
no,
not?
it's not
Yeah.
recorded.
it's not recorded, even though they've encroached on town-owned land.
Yeah, it could be recorded, but it isn't. It's not required to be.
Can we record it?
Yeah. That's what I was just gonna ask too. If we record it now, will it show up in title searches? If it does, then I'd say it's.
Yeah, it will, because if it just went under
Yeah.
contract.
Yeah, I mean, I would suggest I don't know who does that. Was that the town attorney that does those kinds of recordings for us, or what?
I would think so.
Could you pursue that?
I mean, Elaine may have more information on that about how, if that is even something that would put any kind of cloud on the title.
I'm not sure you can record enforcement orders. I will double check on that. I do remember that it's not the same as an order of conditions. Let me check and see if that is the case. I will see what I can do. What's Samantha's last name, Judy?
That's a good question. She's in your office, though.
Okay, all right. So I can send her an email. I think what I'll do, if she may be in on Friday, I'm going to come in on Friday in the morning instead of the afternoon and see if I can catch her and get the buyer's information. Although I must say, I'm surprised I did not hear from the real estate agent, because they have a duty to inform either the buyer or the seller that this problem is out there.
How long has this encroachment existed? Do we have any idea?
It was in the pictures that Rebecca submitted with the enforcement order. She had the timeline. Some of
Okay.
it is older, but it was paved. There's a paved area onto that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's
but part of the
like
building
that.
is actually in our land too, from what I could see.
I don't think the building is. There's a play set at the back and they expanded the yards. So,
Okay.
I mean,
It
I
looked
can
like a-
envision another owner coming in and fencing off that area, and then the conservation managed land is, you know, fenced off in someone else's yard.
Right.
And if it were anywhere else, it probably wouldn't be a big deal, but where it's a conservation managed lot that's noted in the open space plan, I think it's something that, you know, you might want to address.
Mm-hmm.
So I will do my best. I must say I was surprised I did not hear back from the real estate agent. I will do my best on Friday to notify everybody else and get back to the real estate agent and make sure that I get confirmation she's aware.
Okay.
Okay,
Can I
Is-
ask one? Oh, sorry, Jeremy.
is that it for tonight?
No, can I just put one thing? We don't have to talk about it tonight, but I want to keep it on the radar. I feel like we didn't get good resolution on the yearly operating plan from NEP, like those letters really provided so little detail. You know, when I've read through the 3 different documents, the CMR 11, the yearly operating plan, and the 5-year, whatever it is, vegetation management plan, they all seem to be pretty consistent about staying outside 10 feet from a wetland, other restrictions. I would really like us to talk to the vegetation management team and just understand their process. And maybe this is something we have to monitor going forward, because there are opportunities to make edits to the plan, make sure like wetlands are delineated. I didn't see maps. They're supposed to be flagging before they go in and do that kind of spraying. They're only supposed to impact 10% of the target vegetation in a given year. Like, that's what I understood.
Mhm.
And again, maybe there's some waiver they have that we haven't seen, but I
Aren't they only
honestly,
required to submit a letter? I mean, are you allowed to do edits?
there's, who, me?
The commission.
As I understand it, the process, they're supposed to put something in the environmental monitor. At that point, we have like 45 days to review it.
Right,
Then
every
what-
town gets a copy of the letter, right.
Okay, yeah. And then I think when they send the letter to you, I think we're supposed to make sure the maps are current or something like that. So if that letter went to a non-existent employee, right, wasn't addressed to Peter May, it was a different title. I just don't know if anybody would have seen that letter in town hall if it's not going to the right person. And the commission was supposed to get a copy, and the Board of Health. So I just think this is something we
But
want to,
did the commission get a copy? That's what I'm questioning.
I don't,
'Cause it would have come a few months ago.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
and sorry, last thing, I think, you know, there was damage, and not that punishment, but I would say having an expert come in and assess, okay, what's the damage when you spray all the trees, you know, a good portion of the trees that surround a wetland. And how do you mitigate that?
But didn't they talk about that, not having any trees and then letting the natural vegetation grow in? Wasn't that the point of the plan, part of it? To make sure no trees were gonna grow in those areas? That was part of what they're allowed?
They're supposed to leave, they're only supposed to take out vegetation if it's, well, they're not supposed to spray it within 10 feet of a wetland. Like, if they have to remove it, they're supposed to cut it. It's a no spray area. But they're also not supposed to let drift target, you know, non-target vegetation. Like, there's colonies of yellow baptista that have vanished, blueberries, all the wintergreen, like those little tiny shrubs, those take, I've never seen colonies that big. I don't know how those come back. I saw clever. I mean, there was a lot of, I don't think anybody else went back to walk and look at it, but I thought it was pretty altered and not in spirit of the way the management plan is written.
But I think what you said is probably a good idea, having, contacting someone from the management plan team and having them come in and explain it, because maybe
Right.
they can clarify some things.
Yeah. So I don't know if we can put that on the agenda for
Yeah.
next meeting.
Yeah, we can.
Thank you.
Who's gonna call the person, I don't know who's. Do you
Well,
just want
Ellen,
the agenda?
Do you
or
want me to contact, do you want me to contact them?
Want you to contact her, yeah.
Okay, if I'm, okay.
You're becoming our expert right now.
Yeah, I'd like to understand this better because, they have the 21-day window, but they're sending things 6 months, a year ahead of time, and then saying we could come at any time. It just doesn't seem consistent with,
But I
sort
think,
of.
right, but I think it goes back to the regulations, maybe.
yeah,
What they're allowed, if they're staying within their bounds, regulatory wise, then
right,
they've met their obligation.
right. But we have wiggle room to push back. So,
Well, that's what I'm unclear on.
yeah, yeah.
Whether, if there is wiggle
It may
room.
not be for this year, but it's something I think once we understand how it works, hopefully we can be ahead of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Anything else? Elaine, are you all set?
There's an
I am,
email,
thank you.
there's
Who's
an
that?
email that came in from, to the commission from an environmental group in Lakeville. They have a student group that looked on our website and saw the pollinator information we have. So they did some work on a pollinator garden, and so they just wanted to say thank you for having that information on the website. And so I'm going to send that to the communications person, put it on our webpage, and I'm going to ask them to send pictures of the pollinator garden that they put together, to
How's it
promote
look?
them.
How's
They
it
haven't
look?
sent me a picture yet,
Oh,
but it
okay.
was a bunch of young kids that want to be environmentalists, and they put together a pollinator garden, so I told her I'd promote it.
That's
Yeah.
good.
I love that.
Yep.
Okay. If we're all set, there's nothing else, then could I have a motion to close the meeting?
Second,
I'll move to adjourn it then.
Okay, all in favor? Paul,
Yes.
Eleanor,
yes.
Haley,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
and I'm a yes.
Okay.